The last line of my book was, for years, I felt I was cursed with depression, anxiety. Now, for the first time ever, I feel like God blessed me with depression, anxiety.
Yes.
Right?
That's right. Because like that book, like you just said, you tell your story, but we're putting things in a world that's going to forever be, and it's always going to touch someone. So this podcast, video, the audio, the book, you put it out there, and you never know, because people are out there searching this stuff,
right?
And then it's people that you never look at eye to eye and shake their hands, and it's blessing them. So I feel that too. It's definitely a blessing, man.
And we're still probably 10 years away from where the league actually asked me recently, because I went and talked to the Seahawks and Vikings both about mental health in the preseason. I did also the whole USFL for the league itself, right? The league office said to me, hey, where else can we help? And I said, you're probably still 10 years away. You know, you got to make this just like, you know, mental health, like physical health, where you have so many trainers for the physical health, you're going to need the same amount of therapists there for the mental health and make it more proactive than reactive. And you're probably still 10 years away. But people talking about this now, like I can't tell you how many people say they'll talk to me about what I have, and then finally months later go, okay, me too, like you said, right? But they're not saying it right there. They're saying it all these months later. They're finally having the courage. So I think we're probably 5-10 years away from it being normalized the same way. And I look at therapists like coaches, right? I don't look at it. I try and take away that stigma. So man, I got it.
You know, they need to be trained up. These coaches need to be trained up.
Yes, they do. They need to be trained up. But we also need to realize, hey, if you're going to work on, like, you don't only catch passes when you have the drops, right? You don't only work on speed training when you think you're slowing down. You do it all the time. We need to start doing the mental part of that same proactive approach.
Jay, I had the opportunity to, and I say this humbly, but I had the opportunity to be, you know, the first player to speak, to present to the owners at the owners meeting, right? So I did that.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
And so when I stepped in, I said, you know, look, I'm doing some cool things on the field, but I want my legacy to be that we change the way we approach mental health as a league. Two things need to happen. Here are the two things. Number one, should be mandated that every club has a mental health practitioner on staff. Okay. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case back then, 2015, 2016. Okay. We end up getting that done, meaning the league as a whole.
Right.
The second thing, Jay, is to what you said. I looked at them and I said, I envision a world where you walk into the weight room, and I have my strength and conditioning coach right here, and then right next to his office is the sports psychologist, mental health practitioner, the team doc, whatever, right there, because now it's on the same level. If you walk into most organizations, what you'll find is the strength and conditioning, the training room, the weight room is right outside the locker room on the first floor. Then if you go up to the second or third floor next to the janitor's office.
In a tiny little office, yep.
Yeah, next to, like, you know what I mean, the marketing department that has 4 or 5 cubicles, but people don't go that way. That's where you're going to find a mental health practitioner. No, you need to have it on equal playing field, and it needs to be right there. So when I walk in, you don't know if I'm working on my mind, my brain, if I'm working on my body. It's all the same, right? So to your point, that's what we need to do. What I used to do when I was playing for the Chicago Bears and then the Jets, you know, so the Chicago Bears, I went from the Denver Broncos to the Miami Dolphins for 2, and then to the Chicago Bears for 3, and then the Jets and the Giants for another 3, and then I had a cup of tea somewhere else, and that was it. But those 6 years, bro, where Chicago Bears, you know where I did my one-on-ones with Gail, our team doctor?
Where?
In the weight room every Tuesday.
Beautiful. So you just right showed it to everybody else.
I said, I'm not going up there. I'm doing it right here because they need to see this. Yeah, I don't care what I'm going through, but they need to see that it's okay to do this. But if they don't see me doing this, then they're not going to think it's okay. When I played for the Jets, I would do it every single week in the cafeteria. So now everybody from players to marketing team to janitors to support staff to grounds crew, they would see me talking to Dr. Sweets, right? It's the same, bro.
Beautiful. I love that, man. I love, you know, Sean McVay and I were talking about it. And he goes, man, how many of my players you think got that? I said, no. That's not the question you need to ask yourself. It's be Marsh, what you just said. How many of your scouts, your secretaries, people who work in your lunchroom, your groundskeepers. It's everybody. That's it. If you're going to be a team, it's going to be everybody here. And it's so much more than just that locker room.
And then also, let's
That's
stay here.
beautiful you did that.
Another 30 seconds, bro. Also, it's being proactive too. Not everyone has to have a diagnosis for their life to be a living hell. You don't have to have anxiety, depression, or have borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder for your life to be a living hell. You don't have to. Great point. These things that we're talking about, all of these skills and tools that we picked up through therapy is also important for the at-home dad, the at-home mom, the weekend warrior, for the entrepreneur, for the doctor, the nurse, the clinician. Life can be hard. So you need to be proactive when it comes to training your mind and developing your brain, okay? So if we keep saying that life in sport is 80% mental, then why are we spending so much more time and more resources on the physical? Change it. Invest into
Absolutely. And like you're saying too, it's got to be proactive because it's so reactive nowadays. Normally, a mental health professional is getting somebody after the sky's already fallen. And that's too late, right? So exactly to your point, get out ahead of it. And, you know, not just when you have the gray of anxiety, depression. We all are going through something.
Meditation, yoga,
love it.
Practicing mindfulness,
breath work, yes.
Breath work,
love it.
All of that stuff.
I want to shift gears now because you got something exciting that you've launched here, House of Athlete Plus. Fill us in. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so you talked about my nonprofit Project 375, and I'll be honest, Jay. You know, I think I would like to consider myself a winner, and I want to win big. I never won a Super Bowl, but I feel like my Super Bowl is going to come in the mental health space. I want to help bridge the gap in the mental health community. So what I say all that to say, I was so tired of going out there and only raising a couple dollars, putting a year's worth in this event, and only bringing in, you know, $100,000, $200,000. Now that is big for a lot of people. But for me, when I look at the impact that our platforms can have and the amount of resources needed for other people, 100,000 was just not enough for me. So I shift gears to a for-profit House of Athlete. And what House of Athlete is basically Project 375. Because when I was on the campus of McLean Hospital, I truly believe I had the reaction I had and my life was totally transformed because I leaned into everything. It's not just therapy, talk therapy, and the group therapy. It's also, how are you moving if you're training? It's also, you know, are you meditating? It's also, are you recovering? So are you getting, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 hours of sleep? What is it? It matters. Mind, body, spirit. Absolutely. Everything. It's all of it, man. So I took my 13 years experience of having like the best coaches and best gurus around me and put into House of Athlete, which started as a brick and mortar facility for like Unbreakable, where we have, you know, the who's who in there, but we have pro athletes, youth athletes, we have everyone there. But now how do we scale what we're doing at Unbreakable? How do we scale what we're doing at House of Athletes? So I took all of that work that you and I have been doing and the things that we're talking about now shows up a little bit differently for me because it's 2 different brands, but I put it into this app. So like on Wednesdays, as an athlete in the off season, typically it's a recovery day for us. Right. We train Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday we recover, we jump in the pool. Thursday, Friday, we train, then we do some cool stuff on the weekends, right? So on this app, on Wednesdays, we have our mental health practitioners. You can't even train on our facilities or even our app. You can't even train on the app or in our facility. We have mental health practitioners. We have meditations. We have group therapy going on, right? Because it's that important. So we totally feel like we're disrupting how we're approaching this whole boutique fitness world. And it's really to get more people to adopt the things that we're providing from a mental health standpoint.